Yes. Well, we had to make up for Jackson's, to be candid, lack of hockey knowledge. And so, Jackson, we brought out the heavy hitters today here on Balloon Party, brother. Look who's sitting across from us. There's a good chance he doesn't know who you are. But if you were Kyrie Irving, he'd have an autograph book out.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joey Vitale.
Hey, Joey. What's going on?
Jackson, meet Joey. Joey, this is Jackson.
Joey, great to meet you, man.
I can't believe I got on the show.
Yeah, this is the show of record.
This is the one. So I feel like you guys went through a monumental list of guests, and everyone's on vacation, I think, this week.
That's what it is. So
and they asked me to come in, and
we got to you.
And I just got off vacation. So
you were vacationing with the family. What went on?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's a 10 to 11 show. I told my wife it's 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. And
so she thought 13 hours.
And she's one of the few that doesn't listen to the Balloon Party, so I don't think she has any idea.
I mean, for real, this show is very popular with the female demographic.
It is, especially in the Kirkwood area where we represent. No, it's been it was a great trip, a wonderful trip. I was just talking to Randy a bit ago, but it's a trip. We were texting the other day. I was actually texting you on the Southwest flight home and watching the Euro semifinal, and
I was watching that as well. Jackson was really into that.
As you should be.
The Lions.
Yeah.
As you should be.
He's a big England fan.
Yeah. We in England, of course, pulled it off yesterday, and so they've never won a Euro Cup.
Correct. But they still say it's coming home.
It's coming.
It's coming home. That's what they say about all these trophies that they don't win.
Well, I'll never forget 2020. We had my buddy's place, and obviously I'm Team Italy with the last name like Vitale.
For sure.
And the penalty kicks.
I'm anti-England with a name like McKernan.
Like the rest of the world. Yeah. But so we were sweating it out, and some guys next to me, and they were watching the Cardinals game, and they knew the Blues. Like, Joe, what are you doing? Aren't you watching the Cardinals? Like, why would you be watching the Cardinals right now? This is the Euro semifinal. Copa later tonight. I mean, it's all soccer in our house right now. So, but it's been great. I mean, the wonderful games yesterday. You can't deny the energy of the fans right now, and soccer's just.
It was outstanding.
It's awesome, right?
What was it? The 90th minute when
Ollie Watkins scored.
Yeah, how about that? It was pretty sick.
And he was a sub-in too, right?
Yeah, he came on late for Harry Kane, no less, who's one of the best strikers in the world, and that's a big move to bring him off and bring him on, and it was great.
Jackson doesn't bark out orders, at least on air, often. Behind the scenes, this guy's a tyrant. But
he looks like it.
You get that vibe.
I have the tyrant build.
Hostility. They're really unhappy with him here at Hubbard Radio in St. Louis.
The blonde.
Yeah.
Kind of goatee thing
he's got
going
a little
on
peach fuzz mustache. You know,
he reminds me of my freshman year at CBC. That's what I kind of had going on.
Like a young Dumbledore.
Yeah, exactly. Ray Barr got a hold of me though, and made me shave it off.
Ray Barr.
Yeah, Ray Barr made me shave it off.
And he said, "Hey, politely, if we can cut off the podcast at 2:00 because he wanted to watch the game yesterday. He was so committed to watching." And so you were intensely watching that.
I was, yep. Yeah.
So when England took a 2-1 lead, you were still in the building here?
No, I had gone to my parents who lived down the road at
Jackson's
halftime.
from Ladue, Joey, so he looks down on guys from,
That explains the blonde mustache.
That's right. Yeah. I went over there and watched it with my dad, and I was going nuts when Ollie Watkins slotted one there in the 90th minute.
Not that.
Yeah, 28 years old, but his first major competition goal international.
It's incredible. And there was a 16-year-old the day before for Spain.
Yamal,
with
what
braces.
Braces.
And he has one of the most beautiful goals you could ever see.
Yeah, he turns 17 on Saturday. His birthday. Yeah, his birthday, he'll be playing 17 years old against England for the championship. Really cool.
Jackson, you contend that we underrate both the interest in soccer and the NBA here in St. Louis.
Yeah, I would say with if you were to poll people under 35, maybe in St. Louis.
You're age shaming me and Joey. That's
not necessarily. Not necessarily.
I feel like you were age shamed
a little bit.
Yeah, not necessarily. I would just say I think with that demographic, sports like basketball and soccer are more popular. I'm not saying more popular than the Cardinals and Blues, but the percentage would go up if you would go 35.
I'll concede your point.
Okay, thank you.
Do you concede that point?
I do. I'm surprised that the female demographic isn't higher with soccer.
Isn't higher with soccer?
It's not higher.
Is that right?
Well, because they're obviously strapping, good-looking guys.
This is the second straight day on this show where the people I'm working with start talking about how good-looking the soccer players are. Jackson actually ranked the 3 hottest guys on England yesterday, Joey.
What were they?
I went Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham, and then Bukayo Saka.
So you kept Kane out of this picture completely.
Yeah, you ever heard him talk? He loses points there.
So it's a speech. We're not talking straight.
What does he have? A Cockney accent?
No. It's obviously still the British. It's just you hear him. It's kind of marmalade mouth. It's
Marmalade
So
mouth.
you need your men to be intelligent in order to catch your eye.
I just wish they. I love a British accent, and so I just like it to be real smooth.
I'm going to go into the text inbox.
Smooth.
Yeah.
I feel like they all talk the exact same.
No, but there's a little bit like if you're from Liverpool, it's like the Scouse accent where it's not necessarily like great.
It's kind of like girls from Boston.
Yeah, that's the version.
It's either a really sexy Boston accent or it's just like a
rough.
complete South County Boston.
Yeah.
That's a nice observation.
Yeah,
I just got a text from Gary Kornfeld.
Oh, Big Gare.
Head coach at St. Louis University of the football program for a number of years. His biggest regret, of course, is cutting me from the freshman basketball team at St. Louis U High.
Right. What was the stats? What was the
5
measurables?
100 pounds.
Yeah, I get
How
that.
they overlook that? I don't know.
A lot of speed, though. A lot of speed.
And he says, I'm taking credit for Joey Vitale being a great hockey player because of all the floor hockey he played in my basement with my son, John.
Yes.
Do you attribute your career to Gary Kornfeld's basement?
Absolutely, 100%. Not only that, but his son, John, was the best athlete of our age group growing up. He could do everything. So Mark played at, I believe it was Illinois.
That's correct.
Wide receiver, I believe. I don't think he was a quarterback.
He's a quarterback at SLU.
Was he a quarterback at SLU? Maybe he played tight end, not tight end, but one of the guys that catches the ball, wide receiver, what do they call it, slot guy, I think. But John was terrific. In fact, we never were on the same recess team together.
Oh, because they couldn't have you guys together?
Well, no, John was always the first overall. So John was always the first overall, and then of course, coming in second overall was JV. So we never ended up teaming up together. So we always would go at each other head to head. And I tell you what, that John Kornfeld, he was an athlete and a wonderful person, and what a wonderful family.
The Kornfelds. I'm a big Gary Kornfeld lemming, as a matter of fact. So were you good at like everything?
No, definitely not.
I don't know, because there's a good chance as a hockey guy you're being humble. But then like Gary Kornfeld or somebody who knows he's going to text me and go, no, he was the best at everything. He just wound up playing hockey.
Yeah, I played football at CBC for Bob Shannon.
Bob Shannon.
That was more out of fear. I was good out of fear. You know Bob Shannon?
Yeah, he was a legend.
He had the biggest gap in his front two teeth.
Yeah, he did. He was a legendary coach who then CBC gets, and
6'5".
Yeah.
Boy, when he yelled at you, he motivated me to do anything, and I would do anything for him just to please him. But I played linebacker for him sophomore year, and there was some college interest. Yeah, I was a linebacker, and so I was very, very fortunate. But soccer, hockey, football, it was all kind of the same thing. Back in the day, you pick up lacrosse in high school. Anyone could pick up lacrosse. But now, of course, like every other sport, there's skill and it's year round. So it's, I feel bad for kids because it's harder to just pick up a sport in high school, like back in the day, like we did.
True,
right?
Man.
You have to be specialized at such a young age to keep up. And my wife, she played college volleyball, but she didn't start playing volleyball until freshman year in high school. My daughter, Summer, who's 13, going into 8th grade, I just dropped her off down at Wash U. There's a defensive camp. She's been playing since she was 5th, 6th grade. We just got back from Nationals in Dallas, and the A5 team that won the Nationals, these girls are like 6'4", and they're 13 years old.
Oh, my God.
And their parents are all like former NFL players. They're on the sidelines going crazy.
So this is all Cowboys alumni daughters?
Basically. So it's difficult. I feel bad. I feel bad that you can't play more sports at a young age. And I know it's obviously everyone talks about it the same, but, we were talking on the air before we even hopped on, but the idea of my kids just getting out of my sport of hockey, I would just love it. Like my daughter's not playing hockey anymore, and I would love it. I love that for her because I just can't watch it anymore. I'm just going crazy. Every little thing that they do wrong, I'm like, oh. So
is that right? This is so interesting to me.
Yeah, you become a little hypersensitive to all the areas of the game.
So I didn't know what that was about because we just talked about it a little bit right before we started the show, that only one of your 5 kids is still playing hockey?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
My first.
How old's your youngest of the whole?
Well, the little Shep man, he's only 2.
Okay, all right. So he's still live. He's still possibly do it.
He is, and Birdie's only 4,
okay.
So she may jump in the mix as well. But my third son's an artist, Bodie. He's a wonderful artist, and he just draws all day long, and we draw together, and I love that for him. And my daughter just stopped playing hockey last year, so now she's in volleyball, and I just love it because I'm just watching my kid play a sport. And I think parents out there, Gary, maybe Kornfeld, and Mark and John, same thing. It's when you have your kids play a sport that you were so passionate about and did, you know all the little nuts and bolts and ins and outs of the sport.
Yeah.
So when the kids don't get there, you're like, come on, like, you know what I mean? So it's hard to be quiet. It's hard to be quiet. My wife cannot watch my daughter play volleyball. She actually left. She leaves in games. Like, I'll see you later. I'll meet you at home. I'm gonna start dinner.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, because it's better. She's like, I gotta go. I gotta leave because it's better for me to leave than kind of be around and talk about this.
So will she like pull her aside and like try to instruct her? Will you try to pull it with the hockey? I mean, how do you handle it?
Great question. So now we flip flop. So my wife
So now you're
handles the
doing
hockey.
some volleyball instruction and your wife's doing hockey.
My wife handles the hockey discussions and I handle the volleyball discussions. And it's
Do you give her the talking points?
I say this. I mean, exactly, the talking points, 100%. But no, it's been a lot healthier for us. But no, it's fun to see them all in different things. But I'm looking forward to the one day when hockey's kind of over and we're moving on.
God, that's amazing. That's so interesting to me because my son is in the same age range, and we're both in Kirkwood, and Steve Ott's kids are in Kirkwood, and so I see one of you probably know which one it is if he's
Maverick.
6.
Probably no. So that's
Henderson. Is it?
Henderson, I believe. Yeah, Maverick's the older one.
And there's flying around, and I'm like, holy crap!
Yeah,
and a lot of Blues alumni, which I think has played a role and probably played a role in indirectly or directly your career, staying in St. Louis from the 1980s and 1990s Blues, and then you had this like club of former Blues who became coaches. And I also think it might have been healthy because it's one thing if you're going to go up to a dad who like maybe played in high school and said, hey, you ought to be playing my boy more. You're not going to walk up to take your pick of whatever guy who played in the NHL and said you don't know what you're doing. So I think it kind of set a line of guidance. But it's interesting to me that you don't really necessarily want your kids playing the sport that you
and like you growing up too, you love
but
the
I got
sport.
cut from everything.
Yeah, but you love to play.
Right.
You love to play. And I think kids nowadays they don't love to play as much. And I think their childhood gets robbed from them a little sooner than it's supposed to.
Because of what? Because they're kind of forced into playing a bunch of sports?
I think or just like the specialization of one sport.
I agree with you.
You know what I mean?
I started to dislike baseball when we had like 90 games in the summer.
It's too many. And you're going through end of July. I mean, when do people take a summer break? Like, when do families go on vacation? And we just got back from Florida and all this stuff. So when do people take a break? And that's why none of my kids play baseball anymore. Some of them still want it. I'm like, no, we got to push the timeout button here. We have to say no to certain things. But growing up, like, Cam Jansen, myself, we were like kind of that first group, Paul Stastny as well, and we had no expectations. We love the game. We love to play. We love to compete. And now everything is just, I think that obviously the draft back in 2016, 5 guys from St. Louis get drafted in the first round. The Blues win the Cup in 2019. So now there's just like this hyper focus on hockey. I mean, my kid can make it. And parents, they put their kids in the sport because they want them to quote unquote make it. Don't put them in the sport to make it. Put them in the sport because it's an awesome sport, and you're going to learn the greatest life lessons, and you're going to be in a locker room. That's what's great about hockey. It's a locker room, and there's 4 walls, and parents can't come in, and you learn to police yourselves, and you learn about the birds and the bees. You learn about everything in that room, which makes hockey a very, very special sport.
So this is something that I asked Kelly Chase on my podcast years ago, and you've been on the podcast, and I may have asked you this question, but you just spoke to the reason why I'm happy that my son's playing, even though I can't skate. And it's because, in my experience, we were just saying this on TMA this morning, as a matter of fact, Jackson, I don't know if I ever encountered, when I was doing television, and I was in those rooms a bunch, an NHL player who was like an a-hole, for lack of a better term. I'm sure there were plenty, and I'm sure you wouldn't name them.
Not many, though. Not
many, man. And I said this to Chase in the podcast, and we were just BSing, and he goes, our game has a way of weeding out the a-holes at a young age. And it sounds like you were kind of giving some of the reasoning, because the game, I guess, you guys police yourselves because you are in those 4 walls.
Yeah, it's the only sport, really, when you think about it, growing up. I mean, baseball, you're on an open field. Soccer, open field. Basketball, you're in a court, right? There's no locker room. You kind of get dressed in the car. You get dropped off. Every sport you get dropped off except hockey. Your parents will drop you off, but then you got to go to a room to get dressed. And it's a very technical thing that I don't think a lot of parents realize. But, yeah, you're in the sanctuary of a room with misfits and kids that want to get in trouble and want to talk about the things that they can't talk about at school or at home. And they do talk about it. And we're all learning lessons on the run. And we're all having to relearn the lessons because the way that Jimmy Jackson over here said it, that's not exactly how it works. I learned it from my sex ed teacher that's actually this way. So we kind of have some discussions there. But that's the reality. You weed them out at a very young age, and hockey, it's one of the few sports where you can still fight. Yeah. You mouth off, you get popped in the nose. And it hurts. And it hurts to get popped in the nose. And not to take this down a different road of the world, but I think a good shot to the nose every now and then is be healthy for everybody.
I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more. There are some times where I'm kind of like, I can't wait for my oldest son. It's time for him. Somebody to kind of give him a little wake-up call.
You talk to Ott's kids about it. I'm sure Ott's kid will handle that just fine.
Absolutely. I think you'd issue a hit on him. It's 10:20 in St. Louis. Joey Vitale in with me and Jackson Burkett here on Balloon Party. Looking forward to talking it over with Joey throughout the course of the program. Any questions you may have for us to discuss, Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646. The YouTube chat is up there. Jackson Bishan about sports says Jackson has the same look again Aegon did at the small council. Is that a reference to
Hot D, House of the Dragon?
Are you watching that?
Oh, yeah.
Really? I'm surprised you haven't talked about it.
It's great.
Joey's not watching that.
I'm lost.
Yeah, I am as well.
If it's not Bluey, I'm lost.
You guys are in different spaces.
Are you in the Blippy? Have you ever been through Blippy?
Love the Blippy.
Yeah, Blippi's.
Love
Blippy's regular.
the Excavator song is a constant in our car.
That's
every day.
I'm very familiar. Jackson,
you know
what? The Excavator song?
Missed it.
Be a little weird if you were.
I was going to
Get
say.
on that now. It's catchy for adults.
It's country for adults. All right, Joey Vitale with us. This is Balloon Party 101 ESPN. Welcome back. It's Balloon Party 101 ESPN. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett with you as always, but special guest today here on the program, presented by Munganess, St. Louis Acura. Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota is Joey Vitale. What a wonderful treat this is, Jackson.
Special. I wouldn't.
Standing ovation from Jackson.
That's right.
I don't know about special.
Special
I'm a
guest,
guest.
Joey Vitale.
Filling some time.
All right, you're fresh off of vacation, so it's not fair for me to put you to the test. But I'm obligated to ask if the Blues make a move yesterday. Mm-hmm. Doug called him Gary Suter on TMA.
Oh, he did, huh? I missed that part.
And he faced the wrath of the audience, signing Ryan Suter to a one-year deal. The Blues this offseason, I'll just open it up. Any direction you want to go, you fly.
Well, first of all, people think it was a mistake by Doug. He did that on purpose. I'm going to tell you why he did that on purpose. This has happened to me in the past. This is a way to humble a player right off the hop.
Oh, to send a message.
Send a message.
Earn your stripes.
I don't even know you. 1,500 games possibly this year.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? You got 1,444 games, I think, something like that for.
Not 1,500.
Right. And Suter, you talking to me, you got 1,500 games. No, I was at a training camp in Arizona, and it was my second year there. We had an atrocious first year. And I come back for year two, main camp. Lineup gets posted on day one, and they spell my name with an I and not an E. And I've been around for a year. And the head coach created the roster. And I had a bad year. The team was bad. I was bad. Everyone was bad. He spelled my name wrong. And people think, oh, he spelled your name wrong. What an accident. It was not an accident.
He was sending a message.
These coaches are smart. Like, I don't even know how to spell your name. So for all the fans out there that were giving Doug knows exactly what he's doing.
He was sending a message on the off chance Ryan was listening to HD2 this morning in St. Louis.
Absolutely. No, it's a great move. I love the move. We do have a lot of defensemen now. There will be moves having to be made. But you sign a veteran defenseman who, if he stays healthy and plays a lot this year, he's going to hit 1,500 games. And to me, that's a big number because, it's the presence, Tim.
Yeah.
You guys been around sports. I know, you're a big Mizzou fan and Cardinals and what you guys talk about. But sometimes you just need presence. And presence is hard to quantify. It's hard to put in analytics what presence does. I mean, when we were in Pittsburgh, we come into the lounge. And, this is back in 2010, 11, and, we had a great team. And you come in the lounge some days, and it was really, loud and fun and exciting. Guys are yelling, hooting, hollering, throwing peanuts at each other. And other days you come in, you walk right in, and it's just kind of quiet. And you know who's there. And it's Mario Lemieux, who at the time was our owner. And he was, around the corner. And you may not always see him or hear him, but you can smell him. That's what you always could smell him. You just knew his presence was there. And what does it do? It kind of kept everyone in check a little bit. It kind of
interesting.
It tamed everyone down. And I don't know why that's a good thing, but I look at Ryan as a player who is going to have that presence where it's going to focus a lot of the younger generation on this team. Not to say that they were up and going crazy and everyone's going wild, but when we lost Jay Bouwmeester, that was a big loss.
That was a big hit, wasn't it? And that was February of 20. The team was killing it. This is pre-pandemic.
We were
that
going
was
back to back.
You felt like that was a back-to-back
100%.
mission. Yeah.
We were first in the league at the time, maybe first in the conference. I don't know about the league, but when we lost Jay Bo, to me that was the beginning of the downfall. Not even COVID. When we lost Jay Bo, people They drastically underestimate the leadership quality of what Jay Bouwmeester brought to this team.
What did you tell me what it was?
It was
because on the outside looking in, he's an understated, quiet guy.
He is.
But there's the presence you're speaking of.
It's the presence. He was an Olympic gold medalist. He won a World Juniors. He won a Stanley Cup. The way he treats his body, the way he does things every single day, and when you have someone like that who doesn't speak a lot. When they do speak, it's just like you can hear a pin drop.
Yeah.
And that's what Alexander Steen said about Jay Bo. He wouldn't say a lot, but when he talked, people listened. But when you entered into a room, things got a little quieter. Things kind of got centered. It'd be a crazy game in those 2019 playoffs, and Alexander Steen would tell me later, sometimes it would just be Jay Bo stand up once a game, once a series, bang a stick, hey boys, let's go here. And everyone, boom, like we're locked in. And it wasn't loud, it wasn't crazy, but he had that presence of course, the wonderful history of what he's done. But, the way he handles his business, the way he handles his job, he'd hop on the bike for 20 minutes every single day before practice and games, every day. And Steiner would talk about this. He said he found joy in doing the daily things. Every day he would do it and do it the right way. And I think that when people see that, it's just contagious.
That's a leadership trait, isn't it?
It's a leadership trait. that you do the little things right every single day. And I'll tell you what, he did it. He did it to the best of everyone. Now, I don't know if Ryan Suter is going to be like that, but listen, Nick Leddy is a very quiet Minnesota boy, right? Colton Parayko, he's a guy that if my daughter was 15 years older, like I want my daughter to marry Colton Parayko. He is that nice. I mean, he is amazing of a person. So I think that you look at the leadership, losing Petro, losing J-Bo, and then Steiner up on the top end. So you lost a lot of leadership. Even David Perron, Pat Maroon, of course, Ryan O'Reilly. I think a lot of leadership has been left on the table here the last few years. You bring in Ryan Suter, to me, it's a home run because he's going to bring that presence. I think he's going to kind of quiet things down. I think he's going to have that ability to walk into a room and without even saying a word, the Jordan Kyrus, Scott Prudovich is going to, okay, it's game time. Let's go.
With just that presence.
Just the presence.
What an observation. Good story as well from your time with the Penguins in the presence of Mariel. I mean, I can picture that, man. Dude. That guy's just standing there, and it's just instant aura, incredibility. Joey Vitale in with us here on Balloon Party this morning. Your questions, your comments are welcome in the YouTube chat, 101 ESPN YouTube channel. And, of course, the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett, and Joey Vitale with you. This is Balloon Party, driven by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota, 101 ESPN. But, I mean, she's ingratiated.
This is Action Jackson with a SportsCenter update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals lose both of the games in the doubleheader yesterday against the Kansas City Royals. 6-4 the final of the first game, 8-5 the final of the second game. They'll sweep that under the rug and play the Cubs tomorrow night, 7:15 first pitch. Sonny Gray on the mound for the Cardinals. And former Atlanta Hawk Sadiq Bey agrees with the Washington Wizards on a 3-year, $20 million deal per Woj of ESPN. Those are their SportsCenter update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Welcome back. Balloon Party 101 ESPN. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett, always here with you from 10 to 11 on 101 ESPN. But Joey Vitale joining us today, fresh off of vacation.
Yeah.
And so Jackson is going to welcome you back with his series of questions. Today, Jackson, what are you calling these?
There will be piddles.
I don't know if you know this, Joey, but Jamie Rivers calls Jackson Little Piddles. I think it's a nickname that in a sense is because Jackson lacks not only knowledge about the game of hockey, but really respect for the game of hockey.
It's true. What's better than Puddles? I had a nickname of Puddles in freshman year of college. I'm not going to get into details.
I felt like I was going to ask the reason, but it sounds like you're trying to embargo that.
No, we don't need to get into it. I just was saying it's better than Puddles, where I ended up my freshman year along.
Where's Piddles? That's what Rivers will say.
Yeah.
Jackson, go ahead with your series of questions as Joey Vitale is kind enough to join us here on the program today.
All right, we're going to kick it off with a pretty big picture, macro, comprehensive question here. Do you think that in front offices especially, teams are either haunted or empowered by their previous choices and that colors their judgment on future moves, either to their benefit or to their detriment? What I'm asking you is, do you think teams who have made some bad choices will compound their issues by either sticking with a plan that isn't working or being gun-shy due to their past mistakes? And on the other side, do you think teams who have good fortune with some moves are empowered by this and that also clouds their judgment on future moves?
Wow.
Okay. That was the longest question I've ever been asked. I'm used to questions like, Daddy, where's my apple juice?
Right. Well, that was...
You got to pack a lunch when you come in here, brother.
That's the third question.
Pancakes 4 days in a row?
Yeah, fan coins.
First one's not a question.
I can't wait to hear what you think. I mean, especially considering the organization you were a part of for the majority of your time. I mean, that to me would be an organization that feels like, okay, whatever we do, it's going to turn to gold. I remember John Mozeliak and I said, hey, the fans are a little frustrated. This was like 6-7 years ago in spring training. And he kind of busts out the gladiator. What was the name of Russell Crowe's character?
Maximus.
Thank you.
Meridius?
Yeah, Gladiator 2 coming this November.
And he says, well, have people not been entertained? And I think that really rubbed some people the wrong way, even though what he was trying to say is we've been pretty damn good for like 17 years. What do you want? So what do you think of, I realize Jackson asks a series of questions in his question.
Yeah, it's really wow.
So you got to really be locked in here.
Man, I was like, I can answer this question, and then he kept going. I was like, oh, I can answer that part. Or, oh no, hold on a minute. I'm like, so now I'm a little scrambly.
I'll ask the short version of it. Do you think that front offices, especially teams, are either haunted or empowered by their previous choices, and that colors their judgment on future moves, either to their benefit or to their detriment?
You know, I think that, just you're talking about the Penguins, and, for any 2 cents I can add to this, it's, I think that they're empowered in the sense that I think there's a connection. There has to be a connection between ownership and player. I've always felt that,
Between ownership and player, not ownership and front office.
No, I think it's player. I mean, not every team, but, when I was a part of the Penguins, like Sidney Crosby kind of ran the show. He was the one leaning towards getting players, letting players go. And, and I think that you need players that understand what management's doing and management to understand what the players want. I mean, Sid, people forget he's making $8.5 million. To me, he's a top 5 player in the league still, and he's only making $8.5 million. Now, Sid understands something. He understands that if we're going to be good, he's won 3 cups. He may win a 4th before his career's over. You see these like lucrative $11, $12 million contracts happening now. I don't know if you can win.
Because that comes at a cost for what the franchise can do.
It comes at a cost of the franchise because you can't necessarily build a team if, you have a player that's making, Connor McDavid came really close this year. He would have kind of broken that mold. But, you look at the the cut that Sam Reinhart, he took a major cut. He could have made more somewhere else and signs now with the Florida Panthers, but he's coming back because he feels there's something special there. So I'm not sure if this is answering your question, but I've always felt that, with players and ownership, I think that there does need to be teams on the same page and that believe in this 5-10 year, whatever it looks like. But, to me, Sid he was the guy that did it really well. And he understood the communication and what we're trying to accomplish and what we're trying to do. We'd play sewer ball and, that soccer game before every game. And, if it hit you or then it hit Sid, but then you'd be like, I'll take this one, Sid. And then all the veterans be like, yeah, you like it here in Pittsburgh? You should probably take that one. Go sit this one out. So, but no, I think that to me, those places where the players kind of almost manage themselves, getting back to the Ryan Suter thing a little bit, but I think when you have players that are managing the room and then on the same page with ownership, I think you could certainly see how it would empower. I think it would empower moving forward.
I get the sense here locally that there is a great deal of respect for Tom Stillman and the way that he has operated the Blues since taking over, whereas there is frustration with Bill DeWitt, even though his tenure as Cardinal owner has been, God, I don't know how it could be anything but an A. And it's recent times that have caused Cardinal fans, understandably, by the way, to be critical. And I think what has happened over, if you want to say, starting in 2016 to present day, in which they didn't go to the playoffs in 16, 17, or 18, and then they floundered, but made it, to kind of the weird playoffs of COVID in 20, and then had the winning streak to get into the one-game playoff in 21, and then the last place finish last year. My theory would be the system that worked so well from 2000 through 2015 that led to so many NLCSs, a couple of world championships, and a couple of pennants was not able to be replicated in a new era of front offices in 2016 and going forward. And so, in other words, you believe what's made you successful, you can continue to run out, and then other organizations catch on and then advance past you. Do you think that plays a role in sports or specific to anything that you've seen?
I talked to Ryan O'Reilly the year after they win the Cup. We're coming into camp in 2019 because it was the fall of 2019. Right. And I asked him, I said, the big question is, can you guys, as the Blues, can you sustain the way you played, especially in that playoff run, that smash mouth, everyone's hitting, everyone's physical. The question is, can you do that for 82 games, have enough in the tank to make another run at this thing? And he said something I'll never forget, to your point of being able to sustain stuff. He goes, we better not play that way, because if we play that exact same way, we're going to lose. He goes, this game, you have to be evolving. Yeah. You have to, because every team is so smart. Every team is just going to be on top of everything you're doing, the scouting report of what you did in the past. So we have to be ready. We have to be ready to adjust, And, you talked about Tom Stillman. And the one thing I will say about, with in respect to hockey and baseball, I don't, baseball obviously is taking a little bit of a hit like you're mentioning, but one thing great about hockey is you can't falter the effort. Baseball players, you feel bad for them because they're out there, they're just kind of standing around and then things aren't going well. And sometimes you wonder, where's the effort? In hockey, the Blues this year, they're going to bring that effort. And I think even last year, continue to sell out that Enterprise Center, because even when you're losing games, you see guys running through the wall, you see guys fighting, you see guys scrapping, you see Binnington's antics. There is a realistic expectation in hockey that even if you're not going to be good, man, we're gonna leave it on the line. Absolutely. And we're gonna give the fans something to cheer about, which, again, I feel bad for baseball in the sense that you don't have that ability. It's like volleyball. Yeah. My daughter, we were talking about volleyball, hockey. In hockey, she's not having a good day, she just runs through somebody. Just go hit somebody. Yeah. I would say it to her as her coach. I'm like, just go hit somebody. Run the goalie. I don't care. Do something. Get on the score sheet. Get a penalty. Volleyball, you just sit, you wait, you watch, and you can't do anything about it. And I would imagine baseball is something similar.
There's something to that. Hockey, you always are going to be out there. It's as people say, for parents, it's a fun one to watch because at the very least your kid's going to have some ice time, even if they're not necessarily doing a whole lot with it. I want to get your perspective on the upcoming season for the Blues. Questions that the audience may have for Joey, fire them in. 314-399-9646. We'll take a look in the Air Comfort Service text inbox for some questions as well. Joey Vitale, kind enough to spend an hour with us here on Balloon Party. This is 101 ESPN. Welcome back, 101 ESPN. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett, and Joey Vitale in studio here today on Balloon Party, presented to you by Munganess St. Louis Acura, Munganess Burkhardt Alton Toyota. How about this from the 618? Best balloon party ever.
Wow.
Best balloon party ever.
I've been here waiting for a phone call.
I mean,
It's taken a while.
my goodness. I thought the best balloon party ever was when Jackson thought Petrangelo played for the Oilers.
That wasn't for real.
I think, well,
It was 100%.
I said VGK, and then people threw me off the scent. They were like, "What?" There's something came
so,
up.
like, if somebody said Paul Goldschmidt played for the Cubs, I wouldn't go, hold on a second.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Something. So I always think that the best balloon party is the next one.
Oh, my. How about that?
I like that.
That's a guy with presence
That's
in the
forward
room.
thinking.
Yeah.
That's like the Aristotle of today.
Absolutely.
Can I play ice hockey?
Maybe.
Yeah, you'd be good. That'd be presence in the room. All right, we got a bunch of questions for Joey, and we're in our final segment, so I want to see what we got here. All right, would it be better for the Blues to tank it for a couple of years, draft high, then trade assets and acquire more draft picks to build it from the bottom up, or continue to meddle in mediocrity with mid-first-round picks that do not have the superstar talent potential and trying to tinker with the roster with low-level free agent finds? This would be a question that I would say is already framing the answer based by the way the question was asked. But with that said, I'm sure you get asked about full-on retool, rebuild versus, kind of staying in this course right now.
Yeah, the quick answer to me is you have to win in the next few years because of one player, and that's Jordan Bennington. Jordan, I forget his age now off the top of my head, but, I think I talked to the goaltender coach last year, David Alexander. I asked him flat out, I go, how many more years does Jordan Bennington have? Legit years.
He turns 31 today.
31 today.
How about that? Happy birthday.
So there you go. So he told me, he goes, we got a 3-year window with Bennington where he is going to be as good as he's been the last 2 years before he starts to fall off. So to me, to answer that person's question, compete, get better, continue to retool, grab an asset, grab a free agent, whatever you got to do at the deadline next year, especially. I mean, you signed Buchnevich, which is huge. I think this team, without a doubt, can be very competitive to make another cup run. And maybe not this year, certainly maybe not next year, but within 3 years at the very end of this quote-unquote Bennington era of being as elite as he can be, I think you have to because, he has been on a bad team for the last 2 years. Him and Markstrom for the Flames, Bennington for the Blues. You look at these numbers analytically, the saves they are making on bad teams, it's incredible. If they'd be on a good team, it'd be just sweep after sweep, year after year. So you got such a good goalie and such a coveted presence in Bennington. I think you have to look at getting after it the next couple of years.
So that leads to this question that I had called up. I don't think this is redundant, but it is along the same lines, Joey. Should the Blues trade Bennington? Obviously, that's not where you're coming from here. But should the Blues trade Bennington and start the Hofer era? In my opinion, he's ready. I don't see any use for Bennington right now unless we're extending his contract soon.
No, you don't trade Bennington and you keep Hofer just where you're at. I think that, 82-game season, I think if Bennington, with Thomas Greiss a couple years ago, he was doing like a 80-20, 70-30 split. Of course, Hofer comes in and was more of a 60-40. They learned something with the Thomas Greiss era was that they tried to run Bennington into the ground because they didn't have another option in Thomas Greiss. And what happened around January, he just plummeted and he ran out of gas. He's not built big. He's got skinny legs. He can't push really hard at times and he gets exhausted over time. So they're learning that he is getting stronger. He is getting more fit. He's learning how to manage it better, but he needs breaks. And the fact that you have a really good 1B in Hofer, at some point in the next couple of years, does it go 50-50 throughout stretches? Absolutely. I think that's what they're molding Hofer to jump in as. This isn't a Hofer, you're ready, let's go. I think that they're looking to use Hofer to win games. You have to win games as a backup if you want to make it and survive to the playoffs, and Hofer's the guy to do it. But they are looking to manage the legs of Bennington a little bit better. But you need a goaltender in a backup situation that can win, and Hofer can certainly do that.
Joey, what do you think about the Blues' current defense, and how much do they miss Alex Pietrangelo?
There's a lot of them. I know there's a lot of defensemen.
There are a large number, and it grew.
There is a lot of left-handed, left-shot defensemen right now. Do you think that will be changing in the? Yes,
I
think it has to. I think it has to. Mathematically, it has to. I don't know who you could cut loose. I don't know what that really looks like. I think that Leddy and Parayko to me are that sole top pair. I think Ryan Suter's going to come in and be that player that plays on that bottom pair. Scott Prunovich signs another year. They're going to see what that kind of looks like. Remember, he got hurt a lot last year. You also have Tucker back there, who's a pretty solid player. But then there's the Falk and Krug question in that second pair. What does that look like? They tried to deal Krug last year. It didn't quite go as planned. planned. There are some no trade clauses between these two players. I can see a Falk potentially even being let go. I think there are more suitors for a Justin Falk, especially as a bottom pair defender. So, but to answer that question, I think you need to cut one of those loose. But one thing being said, you signed that Pierre Joseph, that younger defenseman back there, big body, moves well, can cover ground very well. And you look at the bottom six of what Doug Armstrong's done. You add Texier, you add the other Joseph, and was it Matthew Joseph? Texier is the other one, and you got bigger, you got stronger, you can cover more ground, you can cover for your mistakes better, I think, this year. And this is a team that's going to play aggressive, but you only play aggressive if you can get there and have big bodies to cover mistakes, and that's what they've done with the bottom six. And this is why they're adding some pretty well established bottom pair defensemen like they did.
What do you think about what the Blues wound up doing, both with Drew Bannister going back 8 months, Craig Berube now moving on, getting the opportunity he's got? There was talk of Jim Montgomery possibly having interest here. I wonder if they would have lost that first-round series if he would have been available.
I do, yeah.
You think that would have been possible?
I've heard if they would have lost first-round, Jim would have been. To answer your question, I think that it's a great mark for Drew. I think that he's a development coach. I think we're in a development portion of this kind of Blues future as far as the young players. The young players respond really well to Drew. He's a really great communicator. He doesn't have the resume. He doesn't have that all-in presence like we talked about earlier, right off the hop last year, like a Craig Berube steps in the room, a guy that's played over 1,000 games, has over 1,000 penalty minutes, and just a rap sheet of Stanley Cup champion now. But I think what Drew does really well is he communicates very well. He's a very intense coach. I don't know if he's gotten the respect maybe that he should be after talking to him. He cares a lot about this team. He cares a lot about the development. He cares a lot about the direction, and he's going to get this team up and running, no doubt about it. For Craig Berube, I think the voice got stale. It just did, and it happens. It's no different than when you're working with your kids. You told me your son loves the golf. You tell him 100 times how to correct his swing. Sometimes he's got to mute dad out, and that's just natural and it's normal. And I think that Craig, as much as everyone loved him, I think the voice got a little stale. I think it was the right move to send him off, and I think he's got his hands full in Toronto. This is going to be a very, very...
Boy, that's the hot seat there, isn't it?
Man, is it ever.
Yeah.
And you're obviously coaching some of the best players in the world in one of the greatest markets, if not the best market. So it's a cool thing for him, but he's got his hands full. I mean, he's got to deal with some personalities. I mean, he's got guys with earrings showing up to the ring. He is not an earring backwards hat type of guy. We were in Arizona, and Clayton Keller was in the hallway, and of course St. Louis, great guy. And it's the morning of a game, and it's a morning skate, and our players show up in suits on the road. And Clayton Keller, he had like flip flops and a backwards hat. And I can't say on air what Craig Berube said about him. I wish I could, maybe off the air, but he was beyond himself that this kid is going to wear a backwards hat and flip flops to the ring. So I think he's got his hands full with Austin Matthews and his earrings and his Mitch Marner's 14 chains around his neck. He may have to kind of go in and Lou Lamoriello this whole thing a little bit.
Lou. Joey, time to wrap it up. We go quickly here on Balloon Party. Enjoyed the hell out of it, man.
It's been fun.
Thank you so much for coming in.
It's been great to get out of the house here a little bit and talk sports with you guys. And whenever you want to have me back on, maybe we can have the second best Balloon Party in history
second best
coming
one.
up.
Jackson just turned his hat on backwards right there.
I stand with Clayton Keller.
If Berube were here, I swear.
Yeah, he would come after you, right?
What do you say,
stand
Chief?
up to him.
Yeah.
That's what you'd say?
Am I
What do you say,
scared?
Chief?
Am I scared?
You're not scared of Rivers. You're not scared of Berube.
Damn straight.
I think your blonde mustache might scare Chief.
young Dumbledore.
That's Joey Vitale, Jackson Burkett. I'm Tim McKernan. BK and Ferrari are up next. This has been Balloon Party, driven by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN.